morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, December 5th, 2016. I am Dave Biddle, very happy to be joined by Steve Helwagen. Well, Steve, we finally know the college football playoff. It is number 1, Alabama against number 4, Washington. It is number 2, Clemson against number 3, Ohio State. The Buckeyes going back to their home away from home, the Fiesta Bowl. It's amazing, Steve. This is Ohio State's 7th trip to the Fiesta Bowl in the last 15 years. So Jim Tressel took the team there in 2002 for the national championship game, really early 2003. The Buckeyes have been there 7 times. It's really staggering.
It is. I've been to all of them, and I'm going to be at this one. And I have to tell you that, you know, New Orleans has its pluses because of the raging party that never stops on Bourbon Street. But the people at the Fiesta Bowl really know how to take care of the media. They wine and dine you pretty well. And even though there's been a regime change there with John Junker and the boys found guilty of some different offenses.
Just some embezzlement, you know, just some
embezzlement.
Yeah, a little embezzlement,
little
money laundering.
Little use of charitable funds for their own devices and stuff like that. But at any rate, minor stuff. The Fiesta Bowl is just an amazing setup, and other than the traffic trying to get to the game for the Notre Dame game, which was played at 11 o'clock a.m. Local time when we were there the last time, I don't think we'll have that issue because this game's at 5 p.m. and people will have all day to get in there for this game. It was like everybody decided to show up at 10 a.m. for that game last year, and it was I think it was on New Year's morning too, which made it, you know, even worse. But yeah, it was just very hectic, and we love going to Arizona. The weather's awesome. They treat you so well. The stadium, University of Phoenix Stadium, the big spaceship out in the desert, is kind of unique. And so, yeah, the setting will be awesome. My thought was, in what I saw, Ohio State sent out some ticket information that said tickets were going to be in their allotment from $120 up, depending on the location, I guess. I guess $120 would be the upper deck. And it just seems to me they have 13,000 tickets, Ohio State does. They'll probably sell all of those, you would think, because there's such a following for them out there in Phoenix with people who've moved there and everything else. So I don't think that'll be an issue, but they were saying the secondary market is exploding, and the tickets there are $400 and $500, which I just find hard to believe. The tickets for the Alabama game 2 years ago, Dave, were $200 face value at the Superdome, and you couldn't give one away for face value in the hours leading up to the game. Maybe everybody who got to New Orleans had tickets. I don't know, but yeah, it was. I can't see that these prices are going to last because these are two teams coming from 2,000 miles away. So, I don't know, I guess we'll see about that. But, man, Ohio State, it ended up just how we all thought it would. Washington won, Clemson won. It didn't matter. The Buckeyes were still in there. Penn State won, and, you know, they didn't make it. But, man, they played an amazing game, I think, against Wisconsin on Saturday night.
In regard to ticket prices, real quick, I mean, yeah, absolutely. If you're looking to buy tickets for the Fiesta Bowl in the secondary market, wait until much closer to the game. Like Steve mentioned, you know, I'm going to add to your point about the Sugar Bowl with Alabama and Ohio State. Yeah, by the time the game rolled around, I mean, yeah, you could get tickets for like a little bit under face value, or maybe even like, you know, a lot under face value. And then the flip side of that is when that game was first announced and tickets were first released, I mean, tickets were going for 3 times face value. I know we have a buddy, I think, that sold his ticket for 3 times face value, had a pair of tickets that he sold. I think he got $1,200 for the pair. And,
wow.
And that because he did it so early. I don't know if you remember that, but, and then, you know, as you mentioned, ticket prices just plummeted, closer to the game. So if you're looking to go to the Fiesta Bowl, first of all, good luck flying, if you're flying from Ohio out there, because ticket prices have just soared as far as plane tickets, but definitely wait until closer to the game to buy your game tickets because they will drop. Steve, as this was before the college football playoff was actually announced yesterday, like take me through your thoughts. Like, did you think Ohio State was definitely in? Did you think they were like 98% in? Like, just what, were you thinking that, were you a little nervous for Ohio State's sake, or just what were you thinking right before the college football playoff was announced, and then what were you thinking when it was announced?
I definitely thought they were in. I think there was some concern, particularly with, Danny Cannell didn't have them in, and he was preaching you got to use conference champions mode, and then Kirk Herbstreit was talking about how Penn State should be in instead of Washington, and that kind of gave rise to some thought, well, maybe Penn State and Washington are in and Ohio State isn't. I don't know, but yeah, it just kind of, they planted little seeds here and there, but for the most part, most people had Ohio State either staying in the 2 seed or moving down to the 3 seed, which was my contention all along this past week, that when Clemson won the game and defeated Virginia Tech, as ugly as it was, I think they beat a team that was barely ranked by 7 points, that Clemson, they would do the cute thing and put Clemson 12-1 ACC champion up at 2, and Ohio State down at 3, and all that did was change the sideline that you were on and the jersey color you're going to wear for the game. So, yeah, I wasn't too worried about it, to be very honest. I just didn't see how they could take Ohio State out. And anybody that wants to argue the field for this thing, I mean, it's a very clear dividing line. You have the 1 major conference undefeated team, then you have the 3 major conference teams with 1 loss, all in the playoff, and everybody outside the playoff has 2 or more losses, with the exception, of course, of Western Michigan, which, again, won the MAC 13-0. Congratulations for them. They're going to play Wisconsin in the Cotton Bowl, which should be a lot of fun. And, I just believed all along that they were going to keep Ohio State in there. I think the teams that deserve to be there are there. Ohio State's win at Oklahoma early in the season kind of validated them and gave them the trump card that nobody else really had. A non-conference road win over a top 10 team. Nobody else really could say that. So,
and blowout fashion too.
Yeah, put them over the goal line. And I think you think about Oklahoma, the thing that they came back with was, okay, Oklahoma ended up 10-2, won the Big 12 outright. Why did they get excluded? And it's probably because they overscheduled at the beginning of the season. They lost to Houston. They lost to Ohio State. And, people are, and I don't like this talk, people are like, well, they may reassess their scheduling. And I'm like, no, we don't want to reassess the scheduling. We want everybody to play 1 marquee non-conference game because that's what makes college football great in September. So there you go. But, yeah, I had a great feeling all along that they were in, and that was what everybody was trending. And the committee basically spoke. They had them at number 2 before they beat Michigan, had them at number 2 after they beat Michigan, and that's where they ended up, well, in the 2-3 game. But that's how it should have been.
Yeah, they like to drum up excitement and drama. This is why it surprised me that last Tuesday, Kirby Hocutt just came out and said there's a giant divide between Ohio State and Penn State. It's like, wow, okay. I mean, he's saying that even if Penn State wins, they're not going to jump Ohio State. Maybe they would have jumped Washington if Washington would have barely won instead of completely blowing out Colorado. But I just found that so interesting that last Tuesday he came out the committee chair and just put it out there that not only is Ohio State number 2, that just would have sent, enough of a message that they're sitting there at number 2. Are they going to drop completely out of the playoff? Probably not. But then, to come out and say there's a giant divide between Ohio State and Penn State, it's like, wow. And a lot of people took offense to that because Penn State won on the, beat Ohio State head-to-head. But there was a lot of other factors at play, as you mentioned. The Oklahoma game was the trump card. It was the best non-conference win of any team in college football. You go to the Big 12 champ, you go to their house, you blow them out. I mean, that's, it's the best win of any non-conference win of any team in college football. So I felt like the Buckeyes were a lock, but I guess you just never know until it's actually announced. All right, moving on here, Steve. Last couple questions. Just your early thoughts on the matchup with Clemson. Buckeyes are favored by 3 points at last check. I'm sure that'll move a little bit here and there as we get closer to kickoff. But just your thoughts on the matchup with Clemson.
Well, Deshaun Watson is an amazing talent. I want to say he's thrown for almost 4,000 yards. I had his numbers down. I just don't remember them off the top of my head, but he has had an amazing season. He's maybe not the dynamic runner that a lot of people portray him as. He only has 6 rushing touchdowns and a little over 500 yards rushing on the season. I mean, J.T. Barrett, to my understanding, I think has rushed for more yardage than Watson, and we don't necessarily consider J.T. to be the most dynamic guy, although he did have a 41-yard run against that vaunted Michigan defense. But, I think they're top 20 in scoring, both offensively and defensively, Clemson is, and they are legitimate. They've played good competition. I know the Big 12 commissioner, I think, was wanting to ask about Clemson, why they're so special, why they got special dispensation, and why they're in, and Oklahoma isn't. And, they did falter along the way, losing to Pittsburgh. But otherwise, I mean, it wasn't like that they blew out Louisville. I think it was like a 42-36 game, and then Florida State, they beat them. And so, and Virginia Tech barely ranked at the end, like a number 20 type team or whatever, but had played good football, for the most part down the stretch, so they were a legitimate opponent as well. But their defense, I think, is better than anybody wants to give them credit for in terms of the personnel. They talk about their great defensive line. Some of their people came on the Bucknuts message board and you thought Michigan had a great defensive line. Well, yeah, I know Michigan has a great defensive line because they sacked the Ohio State quarterback 8 times. But they said, you ain't seen nothing yet, Cole. You see Clemson. I'm like, okay, whatever. So the issue is, Dave, they give up points, 36 to Louisville, 35 to Virginia Tech. I mean, Ohio State should have opportunities to light up the scoreboard. It's going to be on the Ohio State defense, in my mind, to contain Watson and their great wide receivers in this game.
Yeah, unlike the 2014 Orange Bowl, the 2013 season, I'm confident if Ohio State scores 35 points in this game, they're going to win because they're not going to have a terrible defense that's out there giving up 40 points. So I agree with you. I expect some fireworks. Not quite to the extent.
The joke about that, I worked with Jared Smalley a little bit, Channel 4, and Cabot Ray was their news guy, and he always reads something at the top of the news that kind of hooks you, and I joked with him after the Orange Bowl, his safety's torched in the Orange Bowl, Everett Withers is out of a job tonight. Was kind of the bumper coming out of that clip.
Very prophetic. Very prophetic. He was out of a job. Urban said, you might have to go find work at the 1AA level, sir. We're going to bring in Chris Ash. We're going to get you off to James Madison. It's going to be fun to see these teams go at it again. Hey, and a big reason why Ohio State will win or lose this game against Clemson will be whether Ohio State can figure out how to fix their problems with their downfield passing attack. And there are a myriad of reasons why they're struggling. Terrible pass protection is a huge reason. When JT does get time to throw and has open receivers, oftentimes he's completely misfiring, where it's not even the same time zone as what he's looking to do. Almost like a Joe Bosserman type. Not that bad. And JT's a fantastic overall quarterback. He's such a good leader. He's such a good runner. He's so tough. But he just is erratic with his accuracy. There's been bad play calling, in my opinion, and then the receivers have not helped him out at times. So it's been all of those factors. My question to you, sir, can this get fixed? They now have 4 weeks to work on it before they play Clemson. Can this get fixed?
Yeah, I asked Urban Meyer in the teleconference after his press conference yesterday. I got a question in there. Just what do you do in this 4 weeks to deconstruct and reconstruct the offense? And as you mentioned, it kind of planted the seed with all the analysis on television. Kirk Herbstreit made a point. He said that Noah Brown had the big game against Oklahoma, never heard from again. The pass protection was miserable. They gave up 8 sacks in a game and somehow still won the game against Michigan. That's one that's going to defy logic for a long time. After the tough game with Penn State where they gave up what you said off the air, 6 sacks and 13 tackles for loss, and Isaiah Prince had been exposed in that game, Ed Warner, we kind of cornered him, and he said, yeah, we're going to come up with ways to give him help with a tight end or a running back to help chip the guy who's running right by him. And that didn't happen against Michigan. They left him out there on an island, and Wormley and the boys, just had a field day. So I don't know. I think they got a lot of issues, a lot of questions, and they got a lot of soul searching. I mean, they can say who they are. They're not a deep shot team. They haven't completed one basically the entire season. No one has emerged as the Devin, even a quasi Devin Smith deep threat. No one has emerged. So 12 games is a body of work. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So this is who they are, station to station offense at this point. They don't have a home run hitter running the football other than the 5 times a game they deign to give it to Curtis Samuel. So I don't know. They gotta figure this out. I mean, Clemson, they ought to be all right, but you're not going to beat Alabama against their defense with that offense. It's just not going to happen. That is a dose of reality that just hit you between the eyes. So they've got 4 weeks to get that figured out, and then if they win, another 8 days to prepare for Alabama. And I don't want to be the one throwing the cold water on here, Dave, but I don't think I ever believed that this was the year Ohio State was going to win the national championship. I think they're on house money in the playoff as a non-championship team. I think that beat Clemson and be happy about that, get to the championship game, and I don't want to fall in the trap. I think a lot of people did 2 years ago that Alabama was unbeatable, but Alabama seems to be unbeatable. So maybe next year was the year I kind of targeted for providing that JT returned. It would be the championship season. So that's my dose of reality here as I sit here on a rainy, crappy, cruddy Monday, that I don't think they're going to win the national championship unless they can get this thing figured out.
That's my feeling too right now. I feel like they're going to beat Clemson and lose to Alabama, and we'll see. Full disclosure, I picked Alabama to beat Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl 2 years ago. So I remember saying I can't really imagine Cardale Jones winning this game, and he not like he won it by himself. The Buckeyes played great overall that game, but so hopefully I'm wrong again. Hopefully the Buckeyes can, if they do play Alabama, they can beat them. And who knows? I think Washington, Steve, is better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. I think Alabama's going to win that game, but I think Washington is going to give them a better fight than people are expecting. We'll see what happens, but I'm just looking forward to it. Congratulations to Ohio State for making the college football playoff for the second time in the 3 years of the CFP's existence. And thank you to Steve Helwagen for dropping knowledge as always. I appreciate it, Steve. And thanks to all the listeners for out there for tuning into the show. Hope everyone has a great day. Let's hear some Buckeye swag. Best damn band in the land.